Hello everyone, in this video I'll be doing a Tempest Cleric Paladin build guide for Baldur's Gate 3. This was a request and it's something I was actually working on for a while now, so we're going to start off as the Cleric here and we're going to go with the Tempest domain. This gives us heavy armor and martial weapons. It's actually quite a powerful class. The Cleric is definitely an S tier class. Some people don't think it's that good, but it actually is very offensive. So for our cantrips, I think it's best to have guidance. That's just a definite useful one to have alongside resistance and sacred flame. I would say those are the best three to have early on just for the situations in dialogue, and then sacred flame is just a nice cantrip for damage. There's not really amazing cantrips for damage, but we also get thunder wave and fog cloud, so a little bit of crowd control and a pushback. So there's actually some situations where you can use that to get a nice elimination. We also get the Wrath of the Storm as a reaction, strike back against a attacking creature, dealing 2 to 16 lightning or thunder damage. Very nice. For our deity, I'm going to go Talos, so Destructive Force in Nature just fits well here. And for our ability scores, this is where things get a little bit interesting because we're kind of multi-attribute dependent. Now, I would recommend using strength potions to keep your strength up high if you're going to be using martial weapons, as this does require a lot of different stats spread across. Intelligence is really the only one that we don't have a use for, because charisma and wisdom are going to be our stats from the cleric and the paladin respectively. So you do typically have to have a dump stat. Now you can grab the gloves of dexterity early on and you can dump your dexterity, so that could be easily done. Or if you have strength potions, you can also dump your strength, and it's actually really easy to get strength potions. I would recommend having your charisma around 16, wisdom 17, constitution at 14, and if you're dumping strength, you can take the constitution up to like 16 or one of these three stats. But if you're not dumping your strength, I would recommend at least having a little bit of strength for your attack rolls. Now, typically, we're not going to be attacking much till we get the paladin to add extra attacks, so something like this looks good. And we get to choose our spells at next level. So there's actually really good domain spells for the Tempest. As we get into I'll be getting into the gear and items at the end of this video, but at level 2 we get to choose our spells. Now there's two that are definite needs. We want to have Healing Word. We want to have Create or Destroy Water. This is going to double our lightning and thunder, or lightning and cold damage. So that actually can get pretty crazy, and that's a staple of this build. Now Guiding Bolt's nice just early on to give advantage on attack rolls. I really like Command and Bless. So we can go with something like this. Bless is very useful. Bless up to 3 creatures. Plus 1d4 to attack and saving throws. Command can shut down enemies, so that's really nice for just overall crowd control and just setting up your team. Guiding Bolt, again, setting up the team. Healing Word, it's a bonus action to heal. The benefit of this is bringing up allies that are downed early on. And then we have Create or Destroy Water, which I think is a pretty useful spell in general for this cleric version. So we also get Turn Undead, so you can pray to turn all undead. And Destructive Wrath. This is what makes the Tempest so powerful. When we roll a thunder or lightning damage, you can use Channel Divinity to deal maximum lightning damage. This gets crazy when we add in things like Chain Lightning, which I'll show you how to get as a cleric. Now for our spells here, we get another spell. We're going to take, I think Spiritual Weapon or Hold Person are really great. Spiritual Weapon just gives you another target to take aggro from, so early on, very nice just to pop that up. It's a bonus action too. And then we also get Shatter and Gust of Wind, so this can push back, knock enemies off balance, and knock them off of cliffs. And then Shatter damages all nearby creatures and objects. Creatures made of inorganic such as stone have disadvantage on their saving throw, so you're more likely to deal damage with that against creatures made of stone. We get another cantrip, take Produce Flame. It's not a bad one to have for just setting up fire. For our spells, now we're going to take off Cure Wounds and put on Hold Person, because Hold Person is fantastic for a concentration. Enemies within or teammates within 3 meters always have critical hits, and then the Hold Person cannot move, act, or react. So very powerful. For our feat, it's pretty obvious we're going to take Ability Improvement. We can take that up to 18. If you have the Hag's Hair, ideally you take your Wisdom up to 20. So we're just going to pretend that we have the Hag's Hair here before I get any comments about that. We're going to pretend we got the Hag's Hair. That's ideally what you'd be using it on. For this character, I use it on Strength, I believe. But yeah, we're going to want to have our Wisdom up at max. If we had a 20 Wisdom, we'd be getting 2 extra spells at next level, so that'd be really good. Destroy undead. Whenever you turn undead, it takes a 4 to 24 radiant damage. This is where we get some really high damaging spells. So this is going to be the bread and butter of our build, is Call Lightning. For most of the game, you're going to want to be using Call Lightning. So this will strike all targets within range. For 10 turns, you call down lightning without expending a spell slot. So this is a concentration, but you can continually call down lightning, and it deals upwards of 30 damage, and that's doubled in water. Sleet Storm also, this is for upsetting concentrations of enemy sorcerers and creating ice surface. If you attack it with fire, you can set up water surface and then get targets wet for double damage. So it gets really nice. For our spell here, I get Darkness from being Drow Half-Elf, and then we get another 2 spells here. So Spirit Guardians is the obvious one we need to take. This is one of the best concentrations in the game. 3 to 24 radiant damage or necrotic damage per turn, and this is a concentration, but it's extremely powerful. Halves movement speed of the enemies. It's just incredible. Mass Healing Word as well. There are some items that will give like Bless on heal, so you can use this as a bonus action to heal your entire team and set up Bless on everyone. It also has there's also gloves that'll give Blade Ward on heal, so you can use that to heal your entire team. Very, very strong. So that's that for that level there. Now level 6, we get the Thunderbolt Strike. When you deal thunder or lightning damage to a creature that's larger or smaller, you can push it up to 3 meters or 10 feet. Really nice. We also get another Channel Divinity charge here. And our next leveled spell, I really like Glyph of Warding, especially with this build. You can do a lightning glyph, set it on the ground. This doesn't require concentration, and you can set it up outside of battle. It's actually really powerful, so we're going to go with that there. Now, we can add in the Paladin here if you'd like. At level 7, we get Ice Storm, which is a very powerful spell. So I'd almost recommend sticking here and then maybe adding at level 7 the Paladin. We get level 4 spell slots, so I would recommend taking Guardian of Faith. There's also, you can also take Animate Dead. That's another really good option for spell, because being able to have more allies on your team to spread out the aggro is always a really powerful thing to do. But Spirit Guardian of Faith, you can call that in, and it can defend your team, keeps you alive. For level 4 spells, I would say it's one of the better ones that we have. We don't have amazing level 4 spells. I would recommend just Ice Storm, really, for using your level 4 spells. But there's that for our level 7. Now, level 8, we do get the thunder damage to our weapon attacks, but I think it's actually better to add in the Paladin at this point. So we're going to add in Paladin, and I think that the Oath of Vengeance works best here. You get Inquisitor's Might, uses Trainal Oath, extra 3 radiant damage. And with our build, we can actually set up quite a good amount of damage with this. So yeah, we'll take that for level 1, then level 2 we get to choose our Paladin spells. So for fighting style, I think that defense is probably the best option here. Unless you really want to use a two-handed weapon, I think defense plus 1 armor class is very valuable to have. Now for our spell slot selection, we already have Bless, so we don't need to take it twice. We already have Command. I think that Searing Smite, Thunderous Smite, and Wrathful Smite are just great to have. Divine Favor can be a nice bonus action concentration to get add a 1 to 4 radiant damage, but it's not the most optimal use here. I think that there's some better ones. There's a lot of concentrations, which is kind of rough because we have Spirit Guardians, which is what we want for a concentration. So maybe even Mass or Cure Wounds if you need a heal. Not ideal, honestly, but all these other ones require concentration. So yeah, I would go with whatever Shield of Faith and maybe Heroism. We already have Bless and Command, so don't need to grab those twice. I guess we already have Shield of Faith, so yeah, we'll swap that one out and put on Compelled Duel, just to give you something else here. It's not going to be what we're using most frequently. Now at level 3, we get Bane and Hunter's Mark, and then Vow of Enmity and Abjure Enemy. I think it's actually better to go back into the Cleric, because we're going to get another feat here. Now, this depends. If you want the 2 attacks from Paladin, you can go all the way up to level 5 Paladin, level 7 Cleric. I don't think it's best that we're spending our time attacking, so for this build in particular, I think it's actually best to continue with the Cleric, because you get a bit more out of the Cleric. And then also we get the Thunder Strike on our weapon attacks, so that just gives us a little bit more damage. If you do want to melee, but I don't think it's best to melee with this build, and I'll get into why. For our next spell, Sanctuary is great to have. Protection and Good and Evil can be okay too, but I think I guess it really rearranged our spells here for some reason. We'll take off Bane. We'll leave Blast Command. Sanctuary is nice to have. Mass Healing Word. Spirit Guardians. Glyph of Warding. We'll take off one for Hold Person. Take off Sanctuary for Hold Person. And there we go. Oh, I guess we can take off Inflict Wounds too. Yeah, it really messed up our spells with jumping between them. Revivify can be nice, but there's so many scrolls of Revivify in the game, so it's almost like you don't need to take it. Sanctuary is really good, though. That can be, like, preventative of having your whole team wipe out. Now, for the next spell, I think that Warcaster can actually be really good. Reason being, this is actually very situational, or not situational, but it's very specific to this class. So, advantage on saving throws to maintain concentration. We want to hold our concentration on Spirit Guardians as long as possible. What I like is the you can use a reaction to use Shocking Grasp at a target moving out of melee range. So we have now 2 reactions that'll deal lightning damage. And what's nice about that is we can double the damage if it's in water. So this just gets crazier and crazier as time goes on. So at next level, we get ourselves... these are our domain spells. We get Destructive Wave, which is Thunder and Radiant damage. Create a shockwave of either Divine or Malevolent Thunder. I guess you get the choice, my bad. Knocks out all nearby creatures and possibly knocks them prone. So that's great. Crowd control and thunder damage. And we also get Insect Plague here, which creates difficult terrain, disadvantage on perception checks, and it deals piercing damage, which can be buffed up really nicely. So for our level 5 spells, Flame Strike is really nice. It deals, make a pillar of divine fire roar down from the heavens, like a wrath of affronted angels. It's very dramatic, but it's a strong spell. Also, Planar Binding can be really nice too, but we're going to go with those ones there. Now, at our next level, it's going to be our final level of Cleric, so we can choose another cantrip here. Blade Ward, doesn't really matter at that level. And then we'll take Planar Binding. So this is a concentration, but attaches your consciousness to an otherworldly creature. If you save Scum it, that can actually be really powerful because you can just take another enemy out of the battle, and they're usually a strong one. So we're going to go with that. Dispel Good and Evil can be nice, but yeah, at level 10 we also get our Divine Intervention, so that's great because we can use it to get a very nice mace. Or there's a one spot in particular in the game that this is actually very good. So the Sunder Heretic, so you can deal damage, heals enemies, bunch of camp supplies, or you can get a weapon from it. So it's cool. But yeah, so getting into the build, what we want to be using, the Nyrolna can be nice if you want to go with the more weapon attack focused paladin, because you can throw this and it'll return to you. But I think that the Marka Heshker spear is honestly much better, because there's one very useful use out of this. So where is it there? So we get Kareska's Favor. Now we can do this the cold version, which gives you Cone of Cold, which is really nice, and Ice Storm. But the Bolts of Doom, what this does is it gives you, Destructive Waff. When you roll Thunder or Lightning damage, you use your Channel Divinity. I'm not going to use, I don't know why that offers that. So we have resistance to lightning damage. Lightning spells deal additional lightning damage equal to the proficiency bonus. When it deals spell damage, it gains 1 lightning charge. So we get lightning charges on top of that, which are going to increase our lightning damage. And then once we get 5 lightning charges, it deals extra damage. And we also get Chain Lightning, which we can cast and upcast. Or we can use our Channel Divinity to deal the maximum damage. So in water, this is dealing 160 damage. Pretty much everything's dead at that point. This build is broken. But as far as gear goes, I like the Helm of Baldur to give you 2 health points to start a battle. And what's nice is if you can also equip the gauntlets that will give you the Blade Ward on heal. And that counts as healing yourself, so that can be really synergetic. I like the Cloak of Displacement, disadvantage on attack rolls against you. You can also go with the armor, or the +1 armor class to give yourself 26 armor class. The Dwarven Splint Mail is pretty nice. Gives us a +2 to Constitution as well, so that takes our Constitution up. But I'm using the Amulet of Greater Health, so that doesn't really matter too much. So you can go with a different type of armor. I just wanted to go with that one for the appearance, but this here will give us an armor class of 28, which is pretty powerful. Gloves of Belligerent Sky. When you deal thunder, lightning, or radiant damage, which is pretty much every type of damage that we have, you deal 2 turns of reverberation upon the target. what's nice about this is we can set that up with our Spirit Guardians, and then we can set it up with every other attack. So this can be pretty crazy because it'll knock the creature prone and deal thunder damage to them. Reverberation, you can look that up to get a full definition of what it does, but we're dealing a lot of that, so it's best to have that. It gets pretty crazy. Evasive Shoes for the +1 to armor class, and Viconia's Walking Fortress for the +3 to armor class. And gain advantage on saving throws against spells, and spell attack rolls against you have disadvantage. So we're a walking, talking tank. And Amulet of Greater Health to give us a nice 137 health. Crypt Lord Ring for Create Undead. I think that's a really useful spell to have. It's a level 6 spell that we would get from being a cleric, but we get that without taking it. And Ring of Regeneration heals us for 1 to 4 health. We can also go with like the Sparky Sparks Wall as an okay shield earlier on in the game. And if we look into our spells here, so this is what we got for our spells. We can swap them out at any time, which is really nice. These are all of our the spells that we get from being a Tempest Cleric, which is really great. So we also get a few Paladin ones that you can swap out at any time. There's a lot that comes within this class. Our typical way about doing things would be to set up our Kareska's Favor here. Use Create Water, and you can also upcast Create Water. We have level 6 spell slots. I would not recommend using a level 6 spell slot on Create Water, but just you can literally drench an entire building with that. So you want to set up Create Water, and then your next attack, you can actually do this outside of combat. So you can do that. Everyone's going to be wet. Drop a Chain Lightning. Use your Channel Divinity to maximize the lightning damage. 160 damage, and that will hit all enemy, 3 other enemies within 18 meters. So everyone's getting zapped to death, and then you can follow it up with a lightning bolt and then call lightning. And then also Ice Storm's going to deal some cold damage too. So this actually is quite powerful. The best usage of it would be going about using that, and you can also even set up the Glyph of Warding Lightning. So you can set this up ahead of time, and yeah, I was gonna say someone might sometimes scratch attacks if you accidentally kill a a target there, but yeah, this build gets powerful for the reasons that I mentioned there. I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, please hit the subscribe button below. Let me know if there's any types of builds you'd like to see for Baldur's Gate 3, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.